Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Kenneally versus Alrie Meleisea fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to join the Patreon. It really does support the channel, and there's been quite a few videos which have come out of it from people requesting it on there, and I appreciate all the support I've had with it so far. And like I say, it does really support the channel, and thank you very much for anybody who even considers joining. The link will be in the description. And so let's get into this fight. Obviously it's for the WBA World Light Heavyweight title, and I mean it's not kind of a big event, this one, and Kenneally has had to work incredibly hard from the seams of it to actually get a fight and to get a matchup over the line, because again, from the sounds of it, no women in these kind of higher weight divisions are really wanting to fight Kenneally. And I mean, at the same time, it's not surprising. At the same time, it's also very difficult to get, the money and the tickets sold and everything like that to keep the sanctioning bodies happy and to get them sanctioning fees. And again, it's just seemingly been quite difficult for Kenneally, and as a result, she's kind of had a year off since her last fight, and I'm sure that's realistically not out of any fault of her own. It's just been unfortunate to an extent in that way to see, that this is how it's had to kind of play out. But seemingly things are kind of on the up for Kenneally at the moment. I mean, of course, she's finally got a matchup here against Alrie Meleisea, and yes, this probably isn't the best of opponents to have to resort to. I mean, Meleisea is, I think, a very tough, durable opponent and probably will make it into a good, entertaining scrap. But I'm sure, I feel like Kenneally probably would have rather tested herself against a higher skilled type of fighter who's maybe also unbeaten, just because of perhaps where she may be going on to fight, who she may be going on to fight if she does win this fight. But I mean, Meleisea is a tough fighter. She is obviously somebody who has fought the other world champion in Lani Daniels in the light heavyweight division. She did lose convincingly via unanimous decision, and that was over 2 years ago. And so, like I say, she's not really been fighting consistently, and she's already got a couple of losses on her record. But she is a big, durable, tough fighter, which I'll talk about more so in a minute. But she's also somebody who is aiming to be the first Pacific Islander female to actually win a world title. So she's definitely got, that will and that reason to really go out there and try and get a victory. But, for Chiellini, like I say, this is perhaps the turn of events and the change of momentum for things for her. Obviously she's 5-0, she's in a really good position, she's a world champion, but again, she's just not been pushed enough, I don't feel like. And I mean, it's the kind of the case for any of the heavier weight women's fights in recent times, bar Clarissa Shield fights. They've all been not pushed very well, and there's a lot more potential in which perhaps could be done with the heavier weight female divisions, but again, it's not really being capitalized upon. And like I say, this isn't a major event, but Salita Promotions have gotten involved, and I mean, of course, they are fighting on the same weekend as Clarissa Shields versus Lainey Daniels, and like I say, Salita Promotions has gotten involved. They've just recently signed Kenneally, and I mean, there's no surprise what they're trying to do. I mean, Clarissa Shields, to use a football term, is kind of stat padding world titles at the moment to arguably go for, some of the champions that on paper may be seen as a bit easier, because of the opposition in which they've been able to face hasn't been able to be that high, because they've been in these higher weight divisions, Lainey Daniels as an example. But, it's still gonna be tough for anybody. I feel like the Clarissa Shields versus Lainey Daniels fight is gonna be a good fight. I feel like if she gets through that, then if she faces Kenneally again, that's going to be a tough fight as well. But that does seem like that's kind of what they're setting up to, do, and that's what the expectation is for them to do if, of course, both Kenneally and Shields get through their respective fights. And like I say, it is just interesting to see that Salita Promotions, of course, is promoting both of them technically, or at least are involved in both of them. But, obviously Clarissa Shields is getting on the zone, getting that publicity, whereas Kenneally is not on the zone, on a smaller show in Australia, which isn't really getting a tremendous amount of publicity outside of the kind of region itself. So again, that's just kind of an interesting thing. But I mean, at the same time, you would think that maybe Salita Promotions might wanted to have gotten involved a bit more, because the WBC belt was seemingly kind of trying to be on the line. Kenneally was trying to push for the WBC belt to be on the line for this fight, but seemingly, she even tried to do a fundraiser and to set that up, and I'm sure that wasn't something in which she was, really wanting to do, because I mean, it's kind of to an extent, it's asking the fans to give her money and stuff, and I'm sure she'd rather not be in that position to do that. But if she wanted to have the WBC belt on the line, the sanctioning fees were just far too much, and again, like I say, it just resulted in there just not being enough of a push, and so the WBC belt is not on the line for this fight. And I mean, she's a working champion. She's, not having the time to be able to focus to be solely a champion. She's called the fighting mum, and so she's got a daughter as well. And like I say, it's definitely, you can see that it's difficult for her to be able to get that time to be able to really train enough and stuff like that. And she's really talented. It's just, like I say, that this is what's causing the problems with the heavier weight divisions in the female kind of side of things at the moment. And it's, to be fair, it's a lot in a lot of weight divisions at the moment with women. You see the champions that have to be working on the side because they just can't make enough money to be able to, like I say, get that over the line and be a pro boxer and things like that. And it's a bit of a shame because, like I say, she's been improving with every fight, Kenneally, and again, if she just had that more time to be able to train and to, be the best in which she can be, I feel like she would be, she could be, levels above. And to be fair, we'll probably never know. I mean, of course, she's coming off her second TKO victory of her career, and it was against Rocha, and obviously that was over a year ago, but like I say, she's actually getting these knockout victories now, which of course is nice to see. And to speak about them both more so individually as fighters, Kenneally, I think she has a good solid technique, and she's got them really good fundamentals in my opinion. There's a lot of fighters in which, in the women's side, which I still feel like don't have the right fundamentals and a good enough technique yet, and I feel like Kenneally definitely has that. She leads off with a jab well, and she can double it up well at the same time. She finds her range pretty much from the get-go. To be honest, it is quite a big figure, so like I say, she's able to find that range well. She's quite fast, and she does utilize that speed well. She's, like I said, in a division which is a heavier division, and a lot of the fighters aren't particularly fast. I mean, I wouldn't say Meleisea is that fast, whereas I think that the hand speed of Kenneally is pretty good. She does carry power with that straight right hand that she throws, and she can force you back with the quick, straight shot combination punches, and she's not got bad feints either. Like I say, I feel like she is always improving, and that was showcased in her performance, which was before the WBA title fight, and her last fight, of course, this is her first defense, when she fought for the Australasian title. That was a rematch, and from that first fight earlier on in her career, the rematch was, she was much improved and dominated a lot more. And like I say, I feel like that was just an all round better performance. And I think that showcased that she has been coming on a lot. Obviously, I think she waits for her moments quite well, and she steps back when necessary well, which is something which is nice to see. Obviously, she can get in exchanges a bit sometimes, but she's normally the first one to disengage because she knows that that's not the kind of right way to go down it. But at the same time, you can see that the aggression does come out right at the very end, when often she'll kind of do that exciting moment at the end where she'll just put it all, let everything go, let bombs go. And like I say, that's often what can be exciting for the fans, but also can, win over that last round if it is a close round. And that's when she's imposing herself a bit more than perhaps what she is doing throughout the majority of the fight. Negatives about her, I think she can come in quite straight on and flat footed at times. When she does start coming into combinations, she kind of, instead of throwing counters, just throws a one-handed kind of push to get you off if you are getting a bit too close and she's, put up against the ropes. I think she will accept the back foot, which will be interesting in which how she'll be able to deal with Meleisea if she is just accepting the back foot. I don't think fights the best on the inside. I think she definitely is better at a mid-range, and her hooking combinations do definitely leave her open. I think she definitely throws the straight shot combinations better than when she's just, continually throwing hooks. She doesn't know how to vary between the two of them that well yet, and, she doesn't throw a great uppercut. She does headhunt a bit. She stands quite tall. She has a bit of a low guard at times, and like I say, can be drawn into exchanges, and at the same time can be outthrown if she is waiting a bit too long to get involved. Meleisea, as a fighter, I think she starts off pretty well. I think she's definitely a fighter who's going to be difficult to be able to deal with from the very get-go. She is a bit of a fast starter, and I think she is, able to start off well with a good, strong, solid jab and solid movement, good feints. Like I say, nothing too crazy, but like I say, it's a good starting point, and so you can see, that she's not an easy pushover of a task. She comes in with big combinations and strong hooks, and in general wants to be physical, wants to be bullish. She will probably try and smother you, and that can be frustrating, and it will just be interesting to see if she is able to smother and kind of get hold and frustrate Kenneally at all. She comes in with big combinations. She's not always able to land them, but she does come in and try and land them. She has strong hooks, like I've mentioned, and she's typically a bit more of an enclose type of fighter. I think at the same time she's got a good chin, and I think she is tough. She's a high tempo fighter at the same time as well. Again, how long does that high tempo last? I don't think it does last that long. I think it's there for the first kind of half of the fight, and then it kind of does teeter off a bit, and she does get a bit more tired and a bit more messy and sloppy. But when she's there, like I say early on, she definitely is a threat. Negatives about her, I think she does duck off when throwing, ducks off to a side when she's throwing, or she can come in and lean in with her head a bit, which of course is a bit dangerous, and it means that she's not particularly, looking where she's throwing. She can be beaten to the punch, and her hands are quite low. She definitely does get caught coming in, and Kenneally, like I say, has a good jab, and I feel like she can probably catch her coming in with a good jab because, Meleisea isn't really able to get past a jab that well. She can kind of walk when coming forwards coming and just throwing without, working out the distance or anything like that, and it means that she can be just missing these straight combinations that she's throwing. It's like she's trying to do what Kenneally does with the straight combinations, but she's just not able to have any kind of success. Like I say, she does smother quite a lot, and she does headhunt, and of course, she gets hit while she's trading, and at the same time, she squares up and is quite a big target as a result. Who do I think is going to be able to win? I think that Kenneally is going to be able to win via unanimous decision. She might be frustrated a bit early on, like I say. Meleisea might be able to get her in a clinch and might be able to tie her up a bit, and she might get caught with the odd shot. It seems like Kenneally does do that from the most part, but I would like to see a much more, again, improving Kenneally performance where perhaps she is getting in them exchanges less and using her boxing a bit better. Like I say, she could easily try and out jab Meleisea in this fight and be able to have a lot more success. So again, like I say, I would like to see that happen, and inevitably, I don't think she's going to be able to stop Meleisea, but I do think, a unanimous decision, which would be relatively comfortable, especially down the stretch, because of course she's now more used to going that 10-round distance. And then who she can go on to next, I mean, realistically, there's only kind of that one option of the winner of Shields versus Daniels. If Shields goes up into these heavier weights and clears out all the belts, then it's good for Shields. She's then got a tremendous amount of belts on her resume, but it's just a bit unfortunate for these other names because they've worked so hard to get into this position, and then they've just been taken over belt, and I feel like it does leave the whole kind of heavier weight women's division just in a bad position because there's no other challengers, there's no other champions to be there to try and challenge, and we'll have to wait and see. But Shields versus Daniels, I feel like Kenneally will end up going on to fight the winner of, and in America, and of course at the same time it's a huge payday, so again that is deserved for the fighters who have worked hard like Kenneally to get into a world champion position. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.